Now let's build up on what we learned about structs in the previous course section, and let's apply it to a more realistic kind of project. Though project is still a big word, but nonetheless, we're going to apply what we learned in a different context at least. And therefore, in this course section, we are going to practice working with structs, of course, and specifically we'll again see how we can work with data that's stored in structs and how we can add methods to structs, so functions connected to specific structs. And as an extra bonus in this course section, we will also learn how we can use a built-in struct to write data into a file. Something we haven't done up to this point, but something we will do now in this section. Now for this section, I prepared a little starting project for you, which you find attached. To be precise, you find this practice Go file attached with some instructions and the very minimum base structure that we need. And you can simply drag that into one of your own projects, run the go mod init command to create a Go module with any identifier of your choice. And then you can use these instructions, which I put into that practice.go file, to practice working with structs. Though throughout this section, we're going to go through all these tasks together, so you can of course also just follow along with me if you don't want to practice this on your own right now. Now, if you do want to try it on your own, you find detailed instructions on what you should do here. I will just say that task number 5 will involve creating files and writing into files. And since that is nothing we did before, you can of course try it on your own, also with help of the official docs, looking for some built-in packages that can help you, but you can also ignore task number 5 and simply try to solve the other tasks. Because in these other tasks, you will need the knowledge you gained in the previous course section to create your own data type with the fields I'm mentioning here, to then create concrete instances of this data type in 2 different ways, which I lay out here, and to then output the data which you store in there, and to then also fetch some user input for creating these concrete instances and outputting that data. But again, it's all written down here. In the next lecture, we'll start implementing this together, and throughout this course section as a whole, we're going to solve all these tasks, and we're therefore again going to practice how we can work with structs and how structs do work. So, did you succeed? Let's now try this together. And of course, I'll start with task number 1, where the goal is to create a new type, a new data structure. So, in short, a new struct. We want to create our own struct which has 4 fields. And therefore here, below package main, above my main function, I'll create a new struct. You don't have to do it here, you could do it at the bottom of the file as well, but I prefer to define my structs up here before I then add logic on them later down in the file. And therefore, I'll create a struct as we learned it by using the type keyword, and then any name of our choice. And since we'll describe a product as we might be storing it in an online store, I will name my struct type product. Now, when it comes to that first starting character, you can go for an uppercase or lowercase character depending on whether this type, this struct, should be available in other packages as well. For this practice project, we'll not have any other packages and will also not publish this package to the public, so it doesn't matter, and I'll go for the uppercase starting character here, but you can go for either of the 2 approaches. Then we need the struct keyword to finish this struct blueprint declaration, and now we can add the different data fields that should be part of that struct. And I did list those fields down there, though I did not mention which type of data should be stored in each field, but by looking at these names, you should be able to come up with fitting data types on your own. For example, if we start with the ID could be a number, an integer, if we want to assign IDs like 1, 2, 3, and so on. But it could also be a string, so that we can use any unique string to give each product a unique ID. And I'll go for the string approach here, and in my product struct I'll add an ID field and set this to type string. Then we also need a title or the name of this product, and I'll set this to be a string as well. And then a description, and that's also a string because that will hold some text. Last but not least, here I will then also add a price field because that's what we wanted here as well. Now for the price, we definitely don't want a string, but instead a number would make more sense. And we could use an integer number if we assume that we have prices that have no decimal places. But in reality, we typically, of course, have prices that do have decimal places, and therefore I'll add float 64, or I'll set float 64 as a data type here. And with that, we defined our own product type here, our own product struct. And that's task number 1 solved.